Thank you very much, Christian. I'm very happy to share it over here. I'm very honored. And I would talk today about the CompoChar, which is our special biochar, which we have developed at Earth Biochar. I think that I have too much slides, so I will just start. Okay, so first slide is over here. This is Kibbutz Almog, where I live, and as you can see, we are in a desert. This is the Judea desert, very arid area, low amounts of rain precipitation, and still you can see in the right picture that we can grow vegetables. This is actually watermelons. So we grow watermelons and onions and all kinds of vegetables in the desert. And if you want to do it, if you want to grow vegetables in the desert, you need, first of all, you need not biochar, you need water, a lot of water. And we get this water not from rain, because we don't have enough. Most of the water in Israel for drinking comes from desalination from the Mediterranean Sea, and most of the irrigation water for agriculture comes from the treatment of sewerage system water treatment facilities. And if you can see here in this graph, about 90-something% of the water goes to agriculture irrigation, and then we left with a lot of sewage sludge. And this sludge is used in Israel mostly for as a fertilizer for agriculture. The reason that we can do it is because we don't have enough rain during the year. The water authorities in Israel made from the early 50s good separation between the municipal and the industrial sewerage systems. And when you take out the industrial, you reduce significantly most of the toxins that comes into sewage sludge. So you get, it's funny to say, but quite clean sludge. So we can use it for agriculture. So this field of watermelons is irrigated with the water from the sewerage system and is fertilized with the sludge after being composted. And after you saw where I live, this is where I work. This is our recycling park. It's in the Jordan Valley. You can see over here the compost, the window of composting. It belongs to Compost Ore. This is the company, and this company, which is part of the recycling park, gets about 50% of the sewage sludge of Israel. So it's when we're talking about a month, we get about 350,000 tons of sewage sludge or biosolids annually, and we mix them with additional 250,000 tons of green waste, a lot of materials, about 500,000 tons of organic materials, which are composted. And this compost goes to farmers all abroad Israel. And at Earth Biochar, which also belongs to this park, this is my corner where the pyrolysis machine. Over here you can see the greenhouse where we develop our biochars. So we use our CompoChar is a mix from the compost that we make in the park and wood chips that we also get to the park. This is the first pyrolysis machine, which was built by Earth Systems in Melbourne, Australia. It was custom made especially for us. It was a pilot machine that helped us to develop the CompoChar. And second thing, we have done with it a very long and thorough process with the Israeli EPA. And now we have a permission that our special sludge biochar, the CompoChar, is no longer under the classification of sewage sludge. So it allows us to use the CompoChar in many applications. It's a very important thing. You need to take regulations in account, of course. And we have decided that when we develop this product, this biochar product, we want to enter into the horticulture industry. It's a growing, very nice industry. And we have decided to produce a soilless substrate. And today, the most dominant substrate in the horticulture industry is still peat, and peat is being banned from many good reasons, and we think that we have good alternative to replace peat and compete it. And when you want to develop, when you want to use a substrate in a soilless as a soilless media, this substrate needs to supply the plants all the important things that good soil supply the plant. It's anchorage and water and nutrient reservoir. And one important characteristics is a good balance between the water holding capacity and the drainage, which gives air and porosity to the roots. Oxygen is very important nutrient. Over here, we can see that you can control it via particle size, but we have found out that we can get almost this balance is called the water retention capacity, and we have created almost ideal balance in the CompoChar. We found out that we can change it, we can control it via pyrolysis temperature, and we can change it if we change the ratios between the compost and the wood chips in the mix of the CompoChar. One important issue that we have our own research and development greenhouse. It allows us to develop the biochar, especially for our needs and especially for certain farmers and nurseries. We are independent of researchers and other people that we used to be dependent, and we do experiments throughout the year in our greenhouse. A lot of cooperation with academic researchers. We work with a lot of farmers. We get a lot of knowledge from them because actually they know how to grow plants better than us. So we learn a lot. We get a lot of feedback. We take this feedback back to the pyrolysis machine. We change a little bit the materials. We come back. we work a lot with gardeners and nurseries, and we also get really valuable information from them. This is, of course, as the CompoChar as a soilless media alternative for the known substrates. This is the system that we work now. It was built with CoEnergy, which is an Israeli company. So this is the hopper where the mix is in it. It goes from here into the pyrolysis machine. It's a very long machine. The pyrolysis takes action into it. Over here you can see the emission. It's mostly vapors, water vapors after cleaned in the wet scrubber. Here you can see the char comes out and cooled down in the water, and from here it goes into this big bag for packing. And if you take small particles of the CompoChar and you look at it, you observe it under the microscope. This is a scanning electron microscopy. You could see very clearly the attachment between, over here you can see the wood biochar, and there is an envelope coating of minerals. These minerals are from the compost. They are pyrolyzed together and they stick together during pyrolysis. It's important feature of the CompoChar. This is one example of experiments that we do in our own greenhouse. Here we compare lattices that were grown in the CompoChar, comparing tuff. Tuff is a volcanic stone. It's a very popular substrate in Israel. And you can see that lattices that grown in the CompoChar is a little bit bigger than in the tuff. I can also say that the deviation is very small in both groups, in the tuff and the CompoChar. It means that both substrates are very homogeneous. It is very important for farmers to get the same plants. They get the same treatment. And since we mix compost and the wood chips and then we pyrolyze them together, this CompoChar, it has its own built-in nutrients. It enables us sometimes to grow plants without any fertilization. And also it is very important because we see less deficiencies. Example, I will show you concerning the calcium. Here you can see these tomatoes. You see it's not a disease, actually it's a deficiency. This deficiency is called blossom end rot. And when this deficiency happens because the plant doesn't have enough calcium. So when we count how many blossom end rot tomatoes we have in the tuff group, we get very high counts, and in the CompoChar I can say that nothing but very small amounts. These sweet peppers suffer the same from blossom end rot, and we saw very similar results. A lot of blossom end rot in the tuff group, and I think none in the CompoChar group. And this is because it has the calcium in the substrate. Now I'm going to talk about another study that we do with researchers from the Volcanic Institute in Israel. And over here, you can see on the left in this picture, two plants. The left one is a healthy cucumber, and right next to it, a dead one. And what killed this cucumber is a disease. It's a fungal disease. You can see this fungi in this petri dish. And the researchers from Volcanic Institute, they have discovered that there is a competition between bacteria and the fungi. As you know, the fungi has penicillin against bacteria, but bacteria, this is their finding, also have something like penicillin which attacks the fungi. So they have developed a screening method that allows them to find specific bacteria that repel the growth of the fungi. So on the right, you see bacteria that doesn't stop the growth of the fungi, and on the left, you see petri dish, which a bacteria which blocks the growth of the fungi. So they screen for all kinds of potential bacteria that attacks Fusarium, and the idea was that we can grow this specific bacteria that attacks the Fusarium. We can grow it into the CompoChar, and then the farmers can take soil with some kind of induced resistance to this disease. And this is the results. What we measure here is the disease incidence, and it looks complex, but I will try to explain it. So the green rectangular is the control group. I will talk about the red rectangular, which is the infected group. The researchers, actually, they inoculate the disease into the substrates. So if you have cucumbers which were grown on peat, inoculated with the disease, you get almost 100% of diseased plants. And if you add to the peat, the probiotic, the bacteria that protects against the fungi, you get a certain amount of resistance. It reduces the incidence, reduces to 70 something. But as you can see, if these plants grow on 100% CompoChar, it almost blocks the disease. And in addition, we have found out that you can grow the cucumbers on peat with 20% addition of CompoChar, and only this 20% additional CompoChar in the mix blocks the disease. It was very surprising. We didn't expect it, but it was very significant results. This is, it's not our greenhouse. This is a greenhouse of a farmer that allowed us to use his farm to check the CompoChar. And there is, in this experiment, there is only one row with CompoChar. Actually, it's a 20% CompoChar in the bags with cocoa coir, and all the rest of the greenhouse is only cocoa coir. So you can see very clearly that the plants that were grown with the CompoChar is much more developed, bigger than the rest of the greenhouse. This was very interesting to see. And this is what I show here. And over here, if you look at these pots, where there is missing plants in these pots, it means that the farmer took out a diseased plant. So when we checked the incidence, we saw none of the CompoChar plants which were attacked by the Fusarium. And over here, I showed that we counted about 35% of the greenhouse was affected by the Fusarium. It was it was significant, yeah. Later on, we have discovered that cannabis plants also suffer from Fusarium. On the right, you can see this orange dots. This is the Fusarium spores, and on the left, it's a small observation, but we have started to work with cannabis farm, and so we add now CompoChar into the mix of this perlite, I think. And this slide, usually I start with this slide of the Terra Preta. Everybody knows what is the Terra Preta. I'm not going to explain it, but in this presentation, I decided to finish with this slide. We don't exactly know how these soils were formed, but first of all, this is what initiate the study and our industry of biochar. Okay, and what initiated that the researchers that visited the Terra Preta soils in the Amazon, they have found that this black soil is more fertile than the normal one. And it initiated a study how to produce a Terra Preta-like soil. So it started like this. And I don't know as well how these Terra Preta soils were formed, but there is one theory that I can easily relate to, that these soils were formed over many, many years, and it was the way of the indigenous people that lived over there to treat waste. So it was probably kitchen waste, and it was animal manure, and most probably even human manure. And the way to treat it was to pile it and then to burn it. And some of it were pyrolyzed and became charcoal. And when we understood that the things that makes these soils more fertile is charcoal, then the study of biochar began. And I wanted to take a moment and to talk about it, that today the study of and our industry of biochar is very focused on very narrow types. Only biomass is good to become a biochar. And I think that if we can go back and ask ourselves another question, like how do we create something like similar to the Terra Preta soils, which will become a fruitful soil, I think that we need to add some variety of other ingredients into the pile. And so when we make the CompoChar, and what we do, we mix actually human manure, this is the sewage sludge, with the wood chips, and we pyrolyze together. What I think that it is like going back and creating something that is more similar to the original Terra Preta. So it was something that I am thinking in the last days, and I would like to finish with that. We are starting now to produce our CompoChar industrially, and we meet a lot of nurseries and farmers, and people ask me all kinds of questions. And one of the answers that I give them, that you can get the CompoChar in any color that you want, as long as it's black. That's it. Thank you.